right, it is 6:30 and we will get this meeting started starting with the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Can we have roll call, please? I am having two issues over here. Hang on.
Mayor Smith.
I'm here.
Mayor Pro Tem Valentine.
Here.
Sorry, I was being noisy.
Trustee Stelter.
Here.
Trustee Schwartz.
Here.
Trustee Brunner.
Here.
Trustee Check.
Here.
Trustee. Here. You have a quorum.
Thank you. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Motion passes, and looks like we have several announcements on here. The first two I don't know anything about. I hope somebody else is going to announce it. Good.
So CDOT does this every June. So we have the Double Smile and Repeat posters on the front of the building and right inside the office. So June is Bike Month in Colorado, and Wednesday, June 26th is Colorado Bike to Work Day. Bike to Work Day. That's what I meant to say. So.
Thank you. Trustee Schwartz?
Sure. I'm gonna do my timer. 3 minutes. Okay, here are the community's appreciations for the week. I appreciate the team at Delta County Libraries for their wonderful programming, such as the Magic Show kicking off the summer reading program. Ben, I'm enormously grateful how the community came together at Riverfest during our mini crisis during the freak windstorm to keep the show rolling forward. Kate. Chef Joe's River Park spot is really sweet. He's busted his tail to make it nice for locals and is supporting all the farms and meat producers in the Valley to boot. Win, win, win. Lauren. We at NETA would like to thank Christina and the others who volunteer their time and efforts to water trees and to plant and water the planters in town. Thank you for putting your time towards improving and bringing beauty to Grand Avenue. Lindsay. I'm not from Paonia, but we come there for the weekend concerts at Big B's. Can't say enough good things about what Jeff Schwartz has done with the place. It's the ultimate camping venue, and we love that it's dog friendly. Tammy. I appreciate Ryan at the Paonia Bike Co-op for volunteering his time for years to make it a functional bicycle accessible to everyone regardless of their budget. Okay. I'd like to send my appreciation to Paonia K-8 staff and special education department. Shout out to Ms. Amy France, as well as the entire community for promoting and providing an inclusive environment for our family, accepting our youngest son and including him in everything without judgment. Thank you, Paonia. Autumn. I'd like to put in a good word for Corey. I called the town because I had a very serious concern. He called me back promptly and was very engaging. And what can I say? Very professional. Linda. Kudos to town admin and public works for identifying issue with our newly replaced sewer line on Doris and having the contractor get on it, fix it before it became an issue around us. The recent story about the woman who lost $300 out of her wallet on a dog walk and recovered it from local police is quite remarkable. I feel like that kind of experience is what makes our little Paonia so unique. I think the person who returned the money also deserves recognition as being an outstanding community member. Lisa. It's pretty special that Paonia was chosen for the Smithsonian exhibition that's coming to town. Thank you, Blue Sage, for making this happen. Elaine. And last but not least, Kelly Nordis gave a beautiful speech at the Pella graduation. Top 10 lessons from the North Fork Valley. Thank you, Chelsea, who prepared and dropped off meals for my extended family after sudden death of my uncle. Thanks to the Learning Council for supporting me and David at our Steal This Art Heist event next Friday. Lots of people are volunteering. Our community has donated wine, cider, beer. I'm so very grateful. And I'm very grateful for all the community who submitted their appreciations. So thanks. That's it.
Time to spare. Thank you.
12 seconds, yes.
Okay. Any other announcements, not on the agenda?
I have one.
Yes.
The West Slope Conservation Center is doing a talk on river and lake safety at the Paonia Library this Thursday from 6 to 7.
Anything else? with that, we will open up public comment. People are welcome to come up and speak for 3 minutes on anything that is not on the agenda tonight. So if somebody would like to come forward.
And I'll give a 1 minute warning and then a 30-second and then time's up.
That'd be great, since we don't have any lights. Thank you. And I saw Melinda, is that your hand?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Marlene?
Yes, Marlene. Okay. Well, I'm gonna get it right.
Someday you'll get
I
it.
promise I'll get it right.
I promise to come speak next time, so you'll be, right?
Marlene. Thank you.
In the June Merchant Herald, Thomas Wills insists on continuing the tribal mentality that the straight Christians and LGBT communities displayed at Paonia meetings in 2022. Mr. Wills extols the fun and game side of sex. As a healthcare worker, I know that the activities represented by the rainbow flag can be just the opposite of all fun and games. Like the AIDS patient in ICU, even though I am of a different sex tribe than Mr. Wills, I assure you that I bathe the genital warts of the homosexual AIDS patient in ICU with as much care and as respect as I used while cleansing the surgical wound of a heterosexual heart transplant patient. The LGBT tribe often calls straight Christians haters. It is love rather than hate that prompts me to speak out against the letter T of LGBT. My favorite definition of love is to wish someone the best and to do my best to make their best a reality. Transgender surgery that chops off healthy breasts or healthy penises of healthy children is not in a child's best interest. Plain and simple, it is barbaric child mutilation of Frankenstein proportions. Not even a Frankenstein's imagination can guess the long-term monstrous results to these children. Recent reports indicate most children who might experience gender dysphoria actually outgrow it. Number two, suicide rate is higher among kids who actually transition with puberty blockers, surgical intervention, and cross-gender hormones. Statistics tend to indicate that gender dysphoria is actually a social contagion that correlates to social interactions on the internet and peer group relationships. 1 minute left. Countries outside the US are beginning to ban gender transition because there is no scientific proof it helps. 2 professional groups in the US are now banning childhood transitioning. I've got the names here. And sex hormones are the greatest type of hormones found in treated sewage, which means we all will be affected by taking up those hormones. 30 seconds left. I cannot wave a rainbow flag in celebration. Instead, I'll be remembering a childhood friend of our daughter. As a young adult, he chose a homosexual lifestyle. He died at age 39 in a California hospital from an infection that he could not beat. I refuse to hate my fellow Paonians, regardless of their sex tribe. Time, okay.
Would anyone else like to come up and speak on something not on the agenda? Seeing none, we will move on to the consent agenda. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the changes that Trustee Hunter. Okay.
Second, thank you. I'd like to do one discussion item before I ask you all to vote, and that is that I'm going to be gone next Friday when Trustee Schwartz and I normally go over all the invoices. And Administrator Wynn is also going to be gone that day. So we've asked our clerk to join Trustee Schwartz to go over the invoices because Sam had been doing invoicing in the past, so was somewhat familiar with that, but no longer has anything to do with finances. So I thought it would probably make things go smoother that Sam has some experience. So I just want to let you all know that. Anybody have any questions on that to me? Seeing none? All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Thank you. So, Administrator Nguyen has a pretty lengthy administrative report that starts on page 21. I'm not in a position to address any of it. I don't know if any of you have questions that Sam could maybe address. We'll ask him to maybe do it when in the meeting in 2 weeks. We'll ask him to be available to answer questions. Yes, Trustee.
Maybe someone else could enlighten me on this. And Mr. Nguyen's narrative about the meeting for realigning the water line, he mentions a community development director that might be hired. Is that a town position? What is that? County? Okay. Thank you.
Mhm. I read that too. I had to read it a couple times and went, oh yeah. I'm good for county. Anyone else have any questions on it? I might do one thing, and that is to talk about the comprehensive plan, which we are now expecting the final draft on June 21st from the contractors. And then after that point, the staff would like to set up a joint meeting of the trustees and the planning commission so that the contractor can present that and there can be discussion of timelines for submitting comments, et cetera. And then secondly, I don't know if it'll be at that same meeting or a separate one, but we've had a request from 2 of the planning commission members that we really need to establish kind of the rules of process for the planning commission. And that, of course, is a perfectly good thing that we need and probably haven't had and need it. And my response was that those are the kind of things you do with your town attorney, who we are going to be talking about his contract tonight. So there will be another meeting or at the same meeting to get our attorney's input on how the planning commission operates with the trustees, et cetera. What are the rules of the road? So we have 2 pretty big discussion points coming up for the planning commission, and there'll be discussion as to whether it's 1 meeting or 2. It might be too much for 2 meetings, but we will be letting everyone know. Thank you. With that, I don't think, is there anybody online? No, Sammy, Melinda, Corey. Okay, and Corey, is there anything you wanted to add as part of Stefan's administrator's report?
I don't really have anything to add to it. I did want to apologize about the detour on Grand today. It wasn't planned. We didn't plan to close the road down. We just ran short on guys and decided that was the best way to keep the project going. But yeah, next time we will have more notice.
I don't even know what you're talking about. So other people, you had to shut Grand down today?
Yeah, we was doing the SU studies for the 5th and Grand realignment. So
Gotcha.
doing the potholing, we wasn't able to fill them in as fast as we thought we was going to be able to. So instead of trying to weave traffic through all the potholes we had opened up, that was better to just shut it down. So
Thank you for that clarification, and that is described in Administrator Nguyen's report. Thank you. I didn't hear what you said at the beginning. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Trustee Schwartz.
As the neighbor to what you all were doing today, your guys were on it. I was really impressed just looking out the window. Like, it was a hot day and they were just on it. Nobody was standing around. Everybody was working hard.
Great. Anybody else have any questions for Corey? With that, we'll move on to Police Chief Laminger's report.
Okay, so a couple of things, the department's just asking everybody with our increased water levels, be careful on the river, keep an eye on your kids. Pets, try to stay away from the banks as they tend to erode underneath and they collapse in the river, so. Our rescue personnel are kind of stressed at this point in the year for resources, so just be mindful while you're down there. Traffic enforcement continues. Most of those stops resulting in verbal warnings, especially with our new stop signs, and new traffic, speed limits in place, but not all those, as you'll see in the blog, are warnings. There are citations that go with those as well. We had 2 officers attend DUI training, recertification. They both passed. DUI enforcement will ramp up throughout the summer. Just be mindful of that as well. And one other thing I'll comment on is Public Safety Committee met last week. We started on looking at the parking issues on Grand Avenue. We had a lot of ideas come out of that, but really what we started with are we're going to be speaking with business owners in 100 block and 200 block of Grand to see kind of how they feel about the issues, if they're noticing issues, if they have a time of day that's worse. And the police department, our particular role we're taking is we're doing car counts, 100 block, 200 block, 6 a.m., 10 a.m., noon, 2 p.m., and sometime between midnight and 2, just to see how many available spots there are. We have some preliminary numbers on those, but it's only about 3 days. We're running most days at a little over half the total number of spots are available. That could change as we get closer to the weekend, Thursdays, Fridays. Most of our counts started on Sunday. Not each time slot's going to get counted, obviously, based on our calls for service. We may be working on something else, but we are getting some of those numbers. So we're planning on meeting again this week, and then hopefully we have a report with full numbers and responses from our business owners. Maybe second meeting of this month, but probably first meeting in July, we'll kind of start.
Thank you. Anybody have questions for this Chief Manager? Okay. Seeing none, we'll move on to actions and presentations with our first one, agenda item number 1 is consideration of contract with Town Attorney Clayton Buckner. If anybody's, I'm on page
82.
82, thank you. Before we start, does anybody in the audience have anything they'd like to come up and speak to in terms of our contract for the town attorney? Seeing none. Any questions from Trustee Bruner?
Who generated this contract?
Couldn't tell you.
Mr. Buckner.
From who?
The attorney.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, from Mr. Buckner.
Yeah, I was surprised to see the clause on termination. I thought that.
Can you say what number that is? You happen to know?
Look.
Dan.
Removal or resignation number 4. I was under the impression that appointed officers required a public hearing to discharge. It had to be for cause, but so I'm just saying I'm surprised to see this here. I hope.
I'm happy to speak on that if you have a question.
Okay.
Certainly, an appointed officer can waive that requirement, and I know that's fairly typical in town attorney contracts. I know that we waived the requirement for a hearing in our contract with the town as well. So I don't think it's unusual to see that in this agreement.
So we're asking him to waive that right.
To waive the requirement for a hearing, a notice of charge in a hearing. Yep, and he's agreed to do that.
I don't think it's a good idea to ask him to waive that myself, but
I can say that I don't think he was asked to. I think he just put that into the contract himself.
that he put that in there.
Yeah, it came like that, and to my knowledge, we didn't have a conversation with him asking him to waive that.
I'm sorry, I thought you said that Ms. Cullen had generated it, so it came from Clayton.
Right.
Sorry.
Okay, all right.
Trustee Hunter?
I just have a question on number 5, services, the first bullet point. talks about attending one town board meeting per month. I was under the impression from the interviews that he was gonna attend both regular meetings.
I read that too.
As well as in-person meetings quarterly, which he states in that same paragraph, it would be 3 times per year. Or per request by the board of trustees, so that's fine.
And the way, I don't have it in front of me, the way because I reread that several times too. Is Mr. Buckner on Zoom?
He is not.
Okay. The way it was worded, it seemed like he was willing to do 2 meetings, but I can't find it.
I understood it, that we were having an interview, that it was gonna be at least one. Not every meeting, but he would come regularly. At least once per month, but maybe.
Can you tell me what page you're on? Do you remember what number it is?
82.
It's page 82, number 5, the
Thank you.
first bullet, last paragraph.
Okay, thanks.
When I read it, attend one town board meeting per month or at request at regular board meetings to provide counsel on legal issues and attend other board meetings as assigned by the mayor or board of trustees. To me, that covers it.
Okay.
That it's like we're requesting his attendance at a regular board meeting. So I didn't have issue with that.
Yeah, I guess I'd be fine with the content with that being considered, but I would be in favor of approving the contract, but I think we should make it clear to him, aside from that, our wants, if we are wanting him to be here or not here physically, but attend all regular meetings.
Trustee Bruno, go ahead.
Does that mean the second meeting would be at an additional expense?
Yes. I mean, we will be paying him for his time, yes, but
But I also know there's been discussion about the desirability of having counsel at regular meetings. But it is in the compensation part that he's got his salary that it's up to 10 hours and then there's an hour.
and one thing I wanted to bring up is if you look at the top of page 82, there are the top 2 bullets. One is the insured acknowledgement of receipt within 24 hours, and the next one is 48 hours. And I don't know which is preferable, but I think we could choose whether we want him to acknowledge that he's been asked in receipt of correspondence within 1 day or 2 days. And Melinda, can I ask you, is there a standard response time that you all go by?
No, there's not a standard response time. We just try to be as responsive as possible. So I think that's some flexibility for you guys.
Trustee Schwartz?
Attorney Kelly, did you review this
No,
contract?
I did not receive a copy before it was placed in the packet, so I did not have a chance to review it until right now. Well, or till, yeah, prior to the meeting here.
Seems like we could decide. And you want him to let us know that he received it within a day or 2 days. Since they're both in here, I don't know.
I would like it that it be stated that it be within 1 business day, so that if it's a Friday, we get that Monday.
We should pick one or the other.
Trustee Brunner?
I agree with Mr. Stelter. I think 1 business day would probably be a compromise.
Any other suggestions? With that, let's see. Sounds like we need a motion that gets at both required or requested changes. Anybody feel up to making that motion?
I feel up for making that motion.
Thank you.
Motion, that we move forward with the contract with Clayton Buchner, with the two changes, that we are requesting 1 business day to acknowledge receipt of correspondence and confirm estimated timeline of the resolution, and that we expressly state we want him to attend all regular town council meetings, plus meetings as requested.
I'll second that.
Can I make a comment on that? I mean, he's gonna attend either in person or online, I think, what you meant was to attend in person.
No, I did not mean in person. I mean attend.
Oh, yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have an attorney very shortly. Agenda item number 2 is the special event permit and liquor license for Mountain Harvest Festival, Northport Valley Creative Coalition, being presented by Amy DeLuca. However, I'd like Sam, or hang on one second. Sam, would you give us a summary of what we have in here, please?
Just the standard special event permit app. It also includes the special event liquor license that you guys can approve at the same time tonight for ease of use. They have everything in there that we asked for, including safety plans, medical plans, alcohol containment, street closure for Friday, I believe. I'm not staring right at it, so I'm going off of memory. I'm sure Amy will correct me if I'm wrong. And then the days at Town Park for the rest of the Harvest Fest, where the stage will and the music will be this time around. So
And it's Town Park in the football field?
yes,
Is that right? Okay.
where the stage is going to be, the event's going to take place in the park. So
Could you do one thing and on page 82, I'm sorry, it's 87. Just if everybody would look at that, because this is a list of fees that are being charged for all the event. And some of these are ones that we hadn't seen before since we did our motion, our ordinance on the street. So I just wanted all the trustees to be aware of that, barricades, cones, et cetera, just because that's a little bit different. And there's a deposit now that is refundable upon everything being cleaned up and ready to go after the event. So with that, and let's go ahead, trustee Brunner.
Just to be clear, the 250 a day is refundable, the whole thing, right? It's a refundable deposit. Yes, right. Yeah. So it's not like a fee. It's goes back if everything goes.
there's 2 refundable deposits there. The $500 is the refundable deposit just for the street closure. And then for the rest of the event, $250 is the refundable fee for the park.
Right, 250 a day, right?
No, just
250.
250.
All right. And then there's the banner permit. I couldn't find the banner fee in the fee schedule that I received, the official fee schedule.
$50.
Yeah, but I can't find any reason to be charging. I'm not aware of an ordinance that authorizes that. I couldn't find it in the listed fees.
Are you looking at the latest, because the ordinance, the fee ordinance
one-
changed? Okay, it's in the book, okay.
Yeah, I hope that's the latest. So I don't understand why we're billing for stuff that's not authorized by the statute.
Can we move forward with the proposal?
Yeah, why don't you all come up and make your presentation?
Okay.
Thank you.
Hi, Amy DeLuca, with the Northport Valley Creative Coalition, I'm a board member, and this is. I'm Jessica Van Ackerman, I'm the executive director of the Northport Valley Creative Coalition. Nice to see some new faces, thanks for welcoming us. Yes, so hopefully you've reviewed the packet and we're slightly changing the plan this year. This year Mountain Harvest Festival falls on the final Friday, which is one of our annual signature events. And so we thought we would improve upon that by having the street closure later in the afternoon, so it shouldn't interrupt much of the regular business hours for folks who have more daytime traffic. And then take the rest of the focus over to the park for Saturday and Sunday. So all that hopefully is broken down into your packet. As you all know, Mountain Harvest Fest is a legacy event, and I believe it's our 23rd year. So this will be our third year presenting as the Creative Coalition. It has been a huge part of the work that the coalition does, and I do want to just add a couple numbers that we were able to craft around what kind of economic impact that festival has on the local economy. So in 2022, we estimate about $800,000 was brought to the valley. And then last year we were down a little bit, and that's roughly $730,000. So it's, as far as we can see, it's the biggest community-wide collaboration that our town has between the ADA, VOCA, all the nonprofits, and then all of our local venues and businesses downtown. And so we will be featuring tons of local music as per usual, and that's the origin story of the festival, as well as bringing in a couple larger national acts. And we're asking to waive the fees. There obviously, as you just discussed, there's a lot of new fees this year, and it's a lot for us to pull it off, considering what it gives back to the community. And we've always had an excellent track record with our deposits. We always get our deposits back. We leave better than we find it, and we hope that you will consider waiving the fees again this year. Oh, yeah, and we, in the past, we've always just included the town of Paonia as a primary sponsor of the event. And of course, we would like to do that again. And that would be part of the way we could elevate the sponsorship with the waiving of the fees and have a larger presentation of this community collab with the town, so.
Before we continue our discussion, let me have an opportunity to ask anybody in the audience if they'd like to come up and make a comment. I see a hand, come on up. I just see a hand, I don't see the person. Sorry. Oh, thanks. Oh, hello. Hello. I'm hiding behind the podium so you can't see me. Mary Baffin, by the one in the box over there. This has been the Mountain Harvest Festival with the numbers that Amy brought forward. This has been the biggest moneymaker for this. I went back and Bill Powers used to do the same thing back when he was on the board before he died. And back then,
Bill Bishop.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Bill Bishop.
Bill Bishop, yeah.
Brain fart. Anyhow, and even back then, when we're talking, 2010, 2011, $500,000 came into this valley because of the Mountain Harvest Festival. And so in supporting this and having the town sponsor it, I mean, the $1,100 in fees is negligible to what the town will reap in benefits from having the festival come. And I love the idea of the chili cook-off on Main Street. I think that's marvelous.
There's a little tweak on that, but
Okay,
I'm
well,
glad you like that idea.
so I would strongly encourage you to support this and waive the fees. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Seeing none, discussion? Trustee Schwartz.
Let's see, I have just a question for town clerk. How many years have we waived the fees for since the inception?
To my knowledge, just in the time that I've been here, it's been since 2022, but you've only waived park fees. he didn't waive all the rest of them. And I wonder a little bit about the validity of waiving the special event liquor license fees. While we issue it and not the state, we still have to report to the state on that. So I'm not quite sure about that one. So.
And my comment is, Mountain Harvest Fest is just a top-notch produced event in town. And it brings so many people. It's a really wonderful weekend. It's my favorite weekend of the whole year. And I'm just really grateful for the Creative Coalition for stepping up to take this on, because this is not an easy thing to do. So thank you.
Others, trustee Brunner?
Yeah, no, I think it was a fine thing to be doing. My kind of questioning, confused by the paperwork that's been submitted. It's like, as far as waiving the liquor license fee, there's this page here that somehow combines the Mountain Harvest Festival and the Pickin' in the Park and assumes that the fees for the liquor license are waived. And I mean, it's in the packet. I don't understand.
May I comment really quickly?
Hang on one second, let me let Sam have an opportunity to, if you're comfortable with that answer.
So the North Fork Creative Coalition, the reason that has both events on it, it pulls the liquor license for both events because they're the nonprofit that does it. Even though you'll only do one, so I wrote it out on one piece of paper and I included it in both.
So the Creative Coalition runs the concession for the beer at the Pickin' in
Yes.
the park?
Yes.
I see, okay, all right, well, that explains that. Yeah, all right.
Amy, did you want to add?
I agree that I don't think we should be waiving the ticket fee.
Coming up if you'd like.
No, Samara clarified we're kind of hitting two birds with one stone tonight, so.
Okay, thanks. I didn't know if you had another piece of info. Thank you.
Yep.
Other comments from the trustees? Questions?
I question the liquor license being one unit for the entire Pickin' in the Park. Isn't that a special event each and every event?
Maybe let Sam answer.
On multi events, when we actually issue the special event liquor license, it has each day listed on it. So it goes under the number of the one event, but it makes it very clear what days are because those days aren't transferable according to the state. So like if they get rained out one day, you can't move that liquor license to another date or another location. So it's listed really clearly on the license itself.
Anything else, Jamie?
No, okay. I'm just here to answer.
Trustee Brunner, go keep going.
What it says here on the scheduled fees is $50 per day up to $150. That's just what it said for the special event liquor license.
Okay, you two, keep going.
I had to look into that too and talk to my other clerks because that seemed weird. So when they're having consecutive events, we have a band, that's when that $150 cap kicks in. Now Pickin' at the Park, because it's on 4 completely separate days that aren't attached to each other, then it's a $50 charge for each of those days.
I see, okay.
Any follow-up question for you, trustee Brunner?
No.
Anybody now with the continued conversation? Any other questions? Okay.
I thought I would just add one thing that I don't know if that's in your packet, but we always have a pre-event powwow with our ops manager and Mr. Nguyen, Mr. Manager, and our whole team, Corey, everybody, to just make sure we have everyone knows the plan and we have what we need to. So we've been doing that for a few years as well.
Thank you. That's a good thing. Thanks. With that in mind, is anyone ready to make a motion unless you want more discussion? Hurry things along.
I would move that we approve the application with the exception of waiving the fees for the liquor license portions.
We have a second?
I'll second that.
Any discussion on the motion? Steve?
I thought we were looking at waiving park fees, not liquor license fees.
I understood that that was the request, that we waive the fees and we were willing to do it. I understood.
Oh, with the
except
exception.
For
Got it.
the
Thank you.
liquor license
Thank you.
fees.
Yeah, and Sam, I think the motion did read that way.
Yeah, with the exception of the liquor license fees. I think where you got the park fees confusion was, that's what the board has done, at least in the past couple of years, has just done the park fees and no other fees.
Any other discussion on the motion? Hearing none? All in favor? Motion passes.
Just, can I ask a quick clear, so all fees except for the liquor license, so that means the banner is waived, everything, okay, cones, all that, okay, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, moving to agenda item number 3. It's on page 107, which is always helps me. And it is special event permit and liquor license for Pickin' in the Park, Pickin' Productions, Rob Miller, Milford Valley Creative Coalition.
Hi,
Hang on one sec. Well, no, go ahead and make your presentation. Go ahead, sorry.
I am Rob Miller with Pickin' Productions, 227 Onarga. Nice to see you all, Madam Mayor, trustees. Thanks for having us. To do a little bit of recap, we're going into our 17th year of Pickin' in the Park. We keep it simple. It's free to the community, 100% community funded, community sponsored. We have 3 bands tonight, always highlighting a local band as the first of the night. This year we always highlight a high schooler in one of those slots. We draw about 1,000 to 1,500 people a week. We have a free kids zone, food and drink vendors, and lots of good vibes. So in 2021, I stood in front of you all and proposed this idea of legacy events. Where at the end of that discussion, we all agreed, similar to the last discussion, where we waive our park fees and fees for this event in exchange for $1,000 sponsorship, which gets your Town of Paonia logo on the banner and on the poster. Back then, the fees were about $700. I was a little confused on the fees going in this year because they changed, and I was asked to write full checks, and I was a little thrown off by that. But I'm here. So each year, for 4 years now, I've stood here and asked for these fees to be waived, and we've had different discussions. And I would like to discuss that again for this year, if you guys would be generous enough to agree to another sponsorship where you waive the park fees, and we include the Town of Paonia as a sponsor. And then to take that to one step more, through the course of these years, we've had discussions about making legacy events, which, by the way, just to summary that up, like legacy events, I believe basically we all had an agreement on were Mountain Harvest, Cherry Days, Pickin' in the Park, and the Beamers, BMWs. And the idea there was they were events that were going on 10+ years. So it's not that I'm proposing that as the definition of legacy events, but that was where we're sort of hovering around in our discussions. And different town councils here, we had agreed to, meet at some point, and those meetings never happened. So I guess, I'm here today to ask for this year, but I also really want to put a strong request to meet and have that discussion, because I think the support, I feel very, very much supported by the Town of Paonia. But it also feels a little funny to have to come up here every year and ask the same question when I feel like we're all on the same page with this legacy event concept.
Hang on. I'd like to ask if anybody from the audience would like to come up and speak on this agenda item. Before we, I see Mary's hand.
Again, it's too bad there isn't a way to quantify how much money actually comes into this town because of Rob's efforts and what he does. But I know every time I go, the park is absolutely packed. The lines at the food courts are so long. hopefully get dinner by the time the music's over. So he's obviously bringing money into this town. And again, waiving the fees is such a small piece compared to what it does for this town, not only bringing outside people into this town to spend their money, but just for the reputation of the town and the fun of the town. So again, I would urge the board to approve the liquor license and special event permit and waive all the fees, except I think you're wise on the liquor license fees. Keep those for everything else. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Come on up. Come on down.
Oh, thanks. Christina Patterson, Price Road. So I'm just wanting to clarify from Rob, what is it that you would like how much money and just it to be like every year?
Please
Oh, I'm
speak to
so
us.
sorry, Madam Mayor. I would just like clarification of what Rob is asking, if that's part of this motion, will be part of this motion. To make a motion that it's in perpetuity of no fees for the rest of I'm not understanding.
Sure.
Yeah, and for how much? And that seems like that would be clarified.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Okay. Trustees, questions for Mr. Miller? General, Sam? Trustee Bruner?
So again, it's kind of a procedural issue, but Mr. Miller has filled out a different form than the Mountain Harvest. I just wonder if there's a reason for that.
It might be because we're in the process of updating forms, and so we kind of get them mixed every once in a while. But he also doesn't have the banner permit, he doesn't have the street closure, he doesn't have, his stuff is purely for the park and then the special event.
It's the park fee. He's being asked we're being asked to forgive $100 a day for picking in the park, where we were asked to give $150 a day for the Mountain Harvest. And it just seems like people ought to be getting the same form. By the time it comes here, they should be on the same form.
Right. It's because one's a half fee and one's a full fee.
I'm talking just the form itself is different. One's at $100 a day for a half day and the other's $150.
So this one must have gotten the old form.
Okay. All right.
Other questions? Yeah, Trustee Schwartz.
Okay, so I have a question for Mr. Miller about what would be the legacy? What would he like to see with the legacy discussion? Because it's very clear what you want for this year, but what would the legacy?
Sure, I think it's a great question. I do think a meeting for a small group of the trustees and maybe the 4 legacy groups to just sit down and kind of hash that out. If you were to ask me that right now, I think what I would say was basically the park fees. If I would imagine the Mountain Harvest Festival would include the banner fee. I don't do a banner. No one is really addressing liquor fees. I mean, that's a different, and just to also be clear, just to hover on liquor for a second, that is the Creative Coalition. That is not me. I have no part of that. Usually they're separate to discuss here, but together. Want to be clear about that. Yeah, and I think from my frustration or in confusion this year, it was kind of about what Mr. Bruner just said, which was I got a new sheet of paper this year, and every year it looks different. And I feel as though I have to ask a lot of questions and jump through certain hoops to either chase raising prices or fees that are kind of in different places. For instance, this year I was asked for a deposit on cones and barricades. 3 years ago, I came to you guys and said, we're on North Avenue there, which is right behind the stage. It's a little different now because I've pushed all the food vendors to the other side of the park, basically out of safety. But at the time, there was a lot of action on that street, and I wanted to protect the kids and put some barriers up, just have the cars slow down, not close the street, but just have everyone go around and slow down. So you guys have all been supportive of that. I talked to Corey or to Travis before him and we worked out where I'd grab I'd go over there and grab the cones and stuff like that. So this year there's a new fee, that whole page of it. And I guess what I'm saying is I got a lot on my plate, especially this time of year, getting all this together. We have to raise at least $30,000 just to make this happen. And I literally do it by making phone calls and all that. So like this time of year for me to pivot and catch all the new fees and where you guys, I would just much prefer to know that you guys supported this event. And I would stand up here and tell you every year as I do what the plans for this event, if there are any changes to it. And then in turn, I would love for just to know that whatever fees you guys are changing in the background, they don't change for us because you support us to do that. Does that make sense? And I imagine in some meeting, we would get all that in some form of writing that we would then discuss and hopefully agree on.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Okay, anybody ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion, and I'm gonna have it be, I'd like to separate, there's gonna be two motions, so if we could take them one at a time. I don't want to merge the two together. So I make a motion that we approve Pickett in the Park's application and that we waive all fees except for the liquor license fee.
I'll second the motion.
Discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Motion number 2.
Motion number 2 would be that we direct town staff to meet with the legacy festivals, events, thank you, legacy events, organizers of the legacy events, and to draft out, to bring to the board what that could look like.
Point of order, it's not on the agenda.
True.
There.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. And I am sitting here remembering that we did this 2 years ago. Made the same motion and hadn't gotten it. It hadn't gotten
We're always
it.
so close.
So anyway, that's what I was thinking about. You're absolutely right. We did not put the legacy event on the agenda. So yes, go ahead. Corey.
I just wanted to comment that I have borrowed them cones since I've been with the town. Have never we've always got everything. We borrowed them back. There was one event that we had to retrieve one off the goalpost at the town park, but I think that was something that they did. I think that was after the fact, but they're really good at getting all our stuff back to us, so.
Let's see. I believe you could make a motion to ask it to be put on a future agenda. I think that is reasonable, correct? Is parliamentarian?
It's not technically on there, but you could just.
Well,
ask
that-
staff to do it.
Direction of staff.
Yeah.
We're not passing a resolution.
Right, and it's just a motion to direct staff to.
Or even just telling us to put it on a future agenda, so you guys can discuss it. I'm happy to put it up in the next agenda or whenever you guys want to see it.
Does it need to be by motion or can it just be?
If we can, if you guys have a consensus that you want to talk about it, we can put it on an agenda, so. It's for your agenda, Madam Mayor.
The mayor controls the agenda, so.
It's your agenda.
Well, I don't want to mess up Robert's rules by having a motion out of sync, so we
Well,
will.
it says it's your agenda.
I know, I've got to get used to that. Okay, well, we'll add it to a future agenda, ask the staff to do that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And by the way, congratulations on the fastest meeting in history last week.
We all enjoyed it. All right, now we are to agenda item number 4, which is on page 128 for anybody following along. And this is consideration of approval of the University Services Agreement to update the town park tree assessment for a not to exceed amount of $1,800. And I believe you are Mark? Greg, sorry, Greg. And you are here to explain all this to us.
Greg
Thank you.
Hollinger,
14340 Crest Haven Road, current president of the tree board. Thanks for having me. Yeah, so this is pretty simple. So this is the town park. We've had assessment done in 2017, which, assesses the health and status of all the trees. And so we're pretty much due. I think we think 5 years to get targets. We're at 7. So we have reached out to Kimmy Long, who's the forester at Grand Junction. She did the last one. She did the big town park assessment 2020. So anyway, the request is for, she has her scope of practice at $1,405, not to exceed $1,800. I did ask for a grant to match, which we have a verbal commitment for. Haven't done the paperwork, but from the Colorado Tree Coalition. So that would presumably cut this in half. But I think for now, if we can go for this full amount, we can refund the, I don't know how that works, but we'll kick back that half money back to the town. So that's it. Any questions on that?
And if I could, let me ask if anybody in the audience would like to come up and make a comment on this proposal. And Mary, please, and I'll let the audience come up and then we'll continue our discussion.
I think this is wonderful. This is well overdue and we need to do it. I just am wondering about the trees in Apple Valley Park and the trees in Lee's Park. That I would be nice to have those included as well. The other thing is if it would be possible to do the trees that are between the sidewalk and the curb. Because a lot of those trees are older, they're large, and they may not be in great health. And I think a proactive approach to look at those trees and decide which ones really are a danger to the town and need to be taken out and replaced would be a great idea. And if it could be part of this, that would be great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was done in 2020. So what she's describing, which I think will be due for that, but I think we can, I don't know. I mean, sure, but that's a bigger job. This job here is a one-day job. John, do you know about the Apple Valley, like that assessment, when that was done?
No, I don't.
Trying to think
I'm
of
sure it was done well.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There's not as many trees out there for sure, but we could certainly look at that, to add that to the scope. But anyway, I guess at this moment, I'm asking for this amount for town park. It's already scheduled for July 16th if this approves.
For Mr. Harbinger?
We have more comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can't.
No, you can be fine.
Thank you. I can't see the hand. Oh,
It's okay. I'm Millie 224 on Arga. I would just like to request that we pay particular, there's these 2 trees that are right in front of the stage that don't look healthy.
Okay.
I think they kind of need to come out, and if they did come out, everyone would see the stage so much better.
Well, that will be assessed. That's the idea. Certainly are looking at risk mitigation for this as well, so.
looks like Trustee Bruner has his hand up.
I have a motion to approve University Services Agreement to update the town park tree assessment for a not to exceed amount of $1,800.
I'll second that.
Discussion on the motion. Trustee Schwartz.
Well, before the motion was made, I just have a question. What budget it would come from and is it already budgeted for?
Can't answer that question.
This was put in the budget in the fall and it was approved at that time. Yeah.
And Corey may know as well. So as long as it's in there, that's all. Thank you.
Comes out of the Parks and Recreation budget.
And as I recall, there were at least 3 or 4 different tree board budget items throughout the budget. I can't tell you where this one's coming from, but I wrote it in my phone somewhere, but I could not find it today. Yeah, so it's covered. Anyone else on the motion? Discussion? Okay, and all in favor? All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, on page 131 is agenda item number 5. A memorandum of agreement with Delta County for maintenance of Grand Avenue, Fifth and Grand realignment project, safe pathways for Paonia. Is there anyone who wants to describe this for the trustees? I don't know. Sam, if you have any.
I don't know anything about it.
Corey, are you comfortable kind of giving a little background for this?
So I'm not sure if that one is exactly part of the Fifth Street realignment thing or but I think it's included with that. It would be new sidewalks and all that. I'm pretty sure. We just have a lot of different grants that lead a lot of different directions, so I'm not sure exactly on the right track on this one, but do you know, Sam, off the top of your head?
If I may, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Corey, correct me if I'm wrong, is this the meeting you guys had the other day where this is something that has to be entered to in order for us to keep going on the realignment thing?
Oh, yep.
And I'll add, oh, sorry, go ahead, Corey.
Yeah, I can touch up on that meeting if you need, or I just have to pull up the notes from it real quick.
It seemed to me that the county could not turn this property over to the town. Seems like there was some issue that they couldn't change ownership, so it just has to be an agreement for management and
Yep.
snow, et cetera. Is that right?
Yes, that's kind of what came from the meeting is as long as we have a mutual agreement that who's responsible for what, then it covers us. But since they can't transfer it to us, then that's kind of the next best step.
Yeah, I recall that now. Any questions from trustees on that? But
Just a
Trustee Hunter?
comment, I was gonna say that I'm looking for it, I forget where it is exactly, but it is in the SGM report that's part of the packet where it does discuss that.
Thank you. Anyone else with questions? Yes,
Yeah,
trustee
it's
Brand.
very vague. I mean, it reads like the county's gonna plow snow down all the way down Grand Avenue, isn't it?
I look in the first paragraph. Seems like it says 4th Street North to Highway 133. Because I asked the same question. And I don't think I asked anybody in the audience if you had a comment. Sorry. Seeing none, we'll continue.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the memorandum of agreement between the town of Paonia, state of Colorado, and the county of Delta, and approve this memorandum.
We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. All right. Last but not least, and this is on page 133, the end of the packet. And let's see, Corey, if you could add some description.
I don't have the packet pulled up. 1 sec. What page was that?
Oh, it's the last page, 133. And I believe it's you're replacing the shed that got run into.
Oh, yes. So we did reach out to 4 companies for bids. One wanted to do, they didn't build them on skids, so we can just set one there. It was more stick built and was kind of way more than what we was looking for. The other 2 kind of didn't take what we asked into full consideration. Like they didn't meet the specs that we asked them for. So the only one that kind of hit the marks on all of our ask was Overholt. And I think they was kind of the middle bid or middle quote. But that shed kind of fits all the needs that we would need for a park shed replacement. We don't plan to turn it back into a water storage. I think we have things shuffled around enough now that it makes sense to have them all in one place versus there's stuff in Apple Valley versus that town shop versus wherever else they might be. So I like having everything all in one area, and that one would work fine just as a shop, parks maintenance shed. But yeah, the Overholt kind of fit exactly what we had. They submitted better all around plans for it, so that's kind of why I would recommend them. And the money for that shed is also reimbursable through SRSA, and then SRSA would try to get the money from the vehicle insurance that caused the damage initially.
Thanks, Corey. Let me ask one. Anybody from the audience like to speak on this issue? I see none. Trustee.
Do we have a completion date for this?
It's just been something we've been trying to get completed with all in between all the other stuff. And I know we've had those quotes for a while. I did reach back out to make sure they were still valid, and they were as of like a month ago. So, but those would come in on a skid. They would be able to plan it, and we can just anchor it down and have it done. You know, we wouldn't have to build anything.
Any other questions? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the bid from Overholt Shed for a price of $11,166 for the replacement shed in Apple Valley Park.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unless somebody has a mayor or trustee report, I do not. This meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody. All right, 7 minutes.
I know, I was thinking the same thing as if your yesterday's.
So if you can't decide, that's what it's about.
He just says, well.
This is, actually, I heard the same thing, and it's the center. They put all this right at the center of the road. They